Okay, here's a deck tech for Mono White Tempo and Historic. This deck is really good in the Historic Shakeup event, mainly because they banned Wrath of God, and this deck's extremely weak to sweepers. There's still Extinction events, so look out for that, but I went close to 20 wins in a row with this sucker, so if you just want to grind out your 15 daily wins, do it in Historic Shakeup with this. Trust me, it's freaking baller. So what we're doing here is playing all of the good value 2-drops that White has to offer, like Adano Vanguard, Seasoned Hollowblade, and Luminarch Aspirant. All three of them are going to effectively represent 3 power on the battlefield for 2 mana and are hard to kill. Hollowblade and Vanguard can become indestructible, whereas Aspirant leaves counters behind, so if they kill it, you at least have some value left on the battlefield. And then just a couple of Silverbeak Griffins to round out the 2-drop slot. There's nothing better. Trust me, I've looked a million times. It feels kind of underpowered to play this guy, but it's not that bad a card. In 1-drops, we start off with a Healer's Hawk. That's your ideal 1-drop. It's really nice to follow up with Luminarch Aspirant. The lifelink is going to help fuel up your Adanto Vanguard. And a couple of Giant Killers. Very flexible card. Tapping down the opponent's creatures is beautiful. It's almost like a recursive removal spell. And then, sometimes you use the left side and you get to chop something down. 1 Isamaru. Not too many decks out there get to run Isamaru Hound of Kanda unironically, but it actually is a good fit for this deck. Can only run 1, though, because you just don't want to see more than 1 ever. Couple Legions Landing. One of the best 1-drops that they've ever printed. When it flips over, it's just a value engine. And sometimes the fact that it turns into a white source will actually let you play another creature that turn, which is great for the tempo theme. And then 1 Cartouche Solidarity. You can't play any more of it because you need a creature on the battlefield. You can't just play this as your turn 1 play. Lots of removal. That's why this is a tempo deck, not full-blown aggro. A lot of the time your line is going to be 1-drop, 2-drop, and then play a removal spell on one of her blocker, so that you can go ahead and swing for 4 or 5. Banishing Light will hit anything you need it to. Same with Skyclave Apparition, as long as it's 4 CMC or less. This card's great because it also puts power on the battlefield. Kabir Takedown can hit Planeswalkers. Card's super underrated. Being able to hit a walker at instant speed is not something you see out of a lot of cards, especially one that's flexible enough to just be played as a land. And Glass Casket, because it's the best 2-drop removal spell in White. 1 copy of Legion Angel with, of course, 3 in the board. Every White aggro deck until the end of time is going to run that. It's the only 4-drop in the deck. Everything else, the whole damn deck casts for like 3 mana, which is beautiful. You almost never have to mulligan. You can keep just about anything. Land base is pretty simple. 22 lands. 18 plains, 3 Castle Arden Vales, 1 Chef at Dunes, because why not? You got the Kabir takedowns for the flex. It's a pretty high land count for an aggro deck, something that wants to win by turn 4 or 5, but it's not that this deck can't do anything with the mana. If you flood out, you got your Arden Vales and your Legion's Landings to create your tokens, and you want to be double spelling. Ideally, on turn 4, you're dropping like a Glass Casket and a Seasoned Hollowblade or something like that. Keeping the pressure on, keeping the tempo up. And there will be a lot of game states where it's turn 3 or 4, they have nothing on the battlefield and you have lethal. Plus more creatures and removal in your hand. The deck hits fast, it hits hard. Opponent has a real difficult time finding answers because your main beaters can be given indestructible. And not only that, but with resources that you don't need. For instance, Seasoned Hollowblade, you can just start discarding your extra lands, or if you're against a control deck, discard your removal spells. So that's no loss to you. And then Adanto Vanguard, your life total, you can take yourself down to 2, and it doesn't really matter. So that's all just gaining an advantage on the opponent using resources you really didn't care about. So I'm not kidding when I say this thing went goddamn near undefeated, like 20-0 in the Historic Shakeup event. And it can actually pull its weight on the ladder, too. I almost got all the way up through Platinum before I had to cop out and switch to Goblins. But this will definitely do the trick. So give it a shot. If you have any suggestions or feedback, let me know. And it will kill.